Sounds like you're almost suggesting a dharmic framework for dialogue, wherein there's sort of, more or less, it's for a Westerner, the analog you had mentioned was pluralism, but with a different set of orientations, different set of principles going in that you think maybe can provide a great basis,
yes,
and maybe a more constructive basis
yes.
for dialogue.
We have a term, a Sanskrit term, one of my non-translatables that I'm bringing out is called Purva Paksha. It's a hyphenated word. Purva is P-U-R-V-A, hyphen Paksha is P-A-K-S-H-A. Now this means one's view of the other. So it was pioneered by Hindus and Buddhists having Purva Paksha of each other. And different schools of Hinduism and different schools of Buddhism and Jainism and the atheists and all kinds of different people, they would be having Purva Paksha. That is the old world, ancient equivalent of interfaith dialogue. Very differently done than today's interfaith dialogue. And the starting premise is that I must truly understand the other's position, step into his shoes and feel like he's feeling and really understand where he's coming from. And then I should step into my shoes and explain to him how I'm feeling. So he'll tell me how he feels about me and I'll tell him how I feel about him. And we will talk about difference without being afraid, because deep down we trust each other. And so we don't have to hide that difference, we don't have to pretend it's not there. We, in this body and in this particular birth, are in a certain form. And in the previous birth we may have been in different cultures also. So here I am a Hindu, and this person is a Jewish person, this person is Muslim, or whatever. And so we're having this conversation, and no one's being blamed, no one's wrong or right, but I'm explaining how I've been told things. And I'm learning how they've been told things. And I'm explaining my experiences when I try a certain ritual practice, and I want to learn from them. So this kind of a Purva Paksha can start. It can be very different from the interfaith process today, because today's interfaith process wants to claim that there's no difference, that we're all the same. And I find that when I go to interfaith events, they suffer from difference anxiety. Most of these guys.
They don't know how to engage with the difference. In a way.
Yeah, they're uncomfortable with the difference. And so they want to take the 10% very superficial stuff, which is same, or 50% whatever, and keep talking on that. And without coming out with what is really different in our views and our positions, they cannot make too much progress. That's why interfaith dialogue has become a very big thing, but hasn't really made any huge breakthroughs.
So this is a way of effectively mediating and discussing those differences.
Yes. I also have another proposal. Like in the schools, there is something called Model UN. I would like a Model United Religions organization, where each religion is represented by a team. So a student joins a team of a particular religion, which need not be their own religion, but they're learning how to represent them.
So they can empathize fully. They have to represent them publicly, and therefore the level of knowledge has to be very deep.
My daughter in school, they had the Model UN, so each one had to be in a team of a country. So she was on the Tibet team, so she had to correspond with Tibetans, read stuff, and go to their meetings and really understand the Tibetan position on some issues. And so there were other debates with Palestinians and Israelis and Americans and so on. So their views had to be represented. So a person on the Palestinian team didn't have to be ethnically from Palestine. They would be allocated. If you had something of that sort where every religion is a member, United Nations only nations are members, countries are members, political entities are members. Well, what if we had something where the membership unit is a religious entity? And you don't even have to have one seat for Hinduism. You could have one seat for the ISKCON people and one seat for the Ramakrishna people. Many. Similarly,
so you can subdivide it.
You could have Mormons as a group, and you could have Presbyterians as a group, and you could have the Catholic Church, and you could have there's many kinds of people. And similarly, with Islam, you could have the Ahmadiyyas present, and you could have the Shiites and many kinds of schools of Sunnism present. So, if you had this Model UN approach, and you applied this method of Purva Paksha of debate and discussion, of difference, I think something extraordinary would come. And this is a very new model. It's a new idea, and I wish I could get people from various faiths committed to trying this model. And then we could go and get some funding or get some support and start this. And this way, the important issues of religious diversity, important issues, whether it's about prayer in schools, or divorce or abortion, or gays, or whatever the issues are, or it could be religious conflicts in various places. These could be discussed and debated much better by such a group than in the United Nations, where they are not trained in religion. The representatives are really not trained in religion. It's sort of secondary. They wish it would go away. They have a huge difference anxiety with respect to religion in general. You know, secular people have anxiety about when you start talking religion. So they don't realize it as a force that exists. You have to accept it and deal with it and understand it. It can be a very positive force. It should be. So my model, my vision is that I'd like to, through these writings about difference and different anxieties and the Purva-Paksha method of debate and discussion, I'd like to evolve towards creating a model UN approach to religions that could then become part of school programs. And there could be a school version, there could be a version for grown-up people, lay people, experts. They could have different kinds of settings in which these